The responsibility for ensuring the success of the Ideal with Her campaign lies on the shoulders of everyone, actually, everyone, because everybody has a role to play. But specifically, we have our law and policy makers who must continue to make laws and continue to make policies and implement the existing ones that we have in terms of protection of women and girls. We have, for example, the Violence Against Persons Prohibition Law, which has to date been passed in 20 states. So we need the other 16 states to also pass the Violence Against Persons Prohibition Law. But we also need all the states, those that have passed or are yet to pass, to prioritize on implementing the law even when it's being passed.
Adiswa, you're not audible. I don't know what's happening, but you're mute. Let me see. You're actually mute. I can't hear her. Wow, I can't hear a thing.
Hear me now? Can you hear me now?
You know, hear you now. It's clear.
Can you hear me now? Can you still hear me?
Yes, I can hear you clearly.
Great. Technology is not going to stop our conversation. You know what I did? I'm so glad to have you. I mean, I've been having these conversations now for 11 weeks. This is our 11th conversation. And we keep learning new things every day, even though gender-based violence and all that it implies is not news to a lot of us. But what we have been able to learn is that there is always a solution. So it is my pleasure to have with us today. We had advertised, and we're still hoping that CSP can join us, but I have Aysha Hamman here. And I mean, just as a side, when you say Hamman, you think about some particular kind of a spa treatment. You know, have you ever heard about that? Hamman, when you have a massage that is the Hamman. Have you ever heard about it, Aysha?
Oh yeah, the hammam spa.
Absolutely.
I've heard about
your
it.
Your voice is as calming. Your voice is as calming as a spa. It's my pleasure to have you on set. Let me just quickly read. I know you are a lawyer. I know you are a gender-based violence. You're an activist, gender activist, right? And you are also a lawyer. So now I'd like to just introduce who you are. You know, and I read that at the age of 14, your future hung on the precipice of change. If everything went according to plan, you would have gotten married at that time before you finished your education. But luckily for Hamman, her mother refused to let her opportunities be cut short. I mean, that's what I find interesting about your story. Your mother said, no, this child must go to school. But before you give me the full story, the thing is, you know, you are a lawyer and you are the executive director of Lift Africa Foundation. And I want to quickly go back to the beginning. You know, how old were you when you narrowly escaped becoming a wife? How old were you?
Okay, I think you read that from the GP to End Violence website, right? Because I remember telling the story last year in November or so. So it was actually at the age of 17 when I finished high school. And you know, coming from you asked me about my name, the Hamman, coming from the northeastern part of the country where marriage is not taken, like marriage is prioritized over the girl child education. So I was also not an exception. My father had 8 daughters and 3 boys. So I'm the eighth child, and all of my sisters are married today with kids. Even my brothers are married with kids. Just 2 of them are single because they are younger. So my own story, so many things happened while I was growing up. it was different for me, and I was always seen as that child that stands out because I was very inquisitive as a child. I was very close to my father, and my father being someone that likes to encourage his children to do whatever they want, even though there's this cultural stereotype that you cannot have a say, you cannot have a total say on what happens to your family because you have to act based on the cultural norms and stuff. Like you just have to keep up with what the family stands for. So he does not totally have a say in my life. If my uncles feel like I should get married at a certain age, they can actually marry me off if they want. That's the Fulani culture, and I believe that most people will relate with what I'm saying. So usually my mother never had formal education until she married my father. That was when she started school. So she went to an adult school. Later on, she studied up till university, and now she has retired. So now,
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to drift. Yeah. So because of that, I had the I had
No,
the
it's
opportunity.
okay.
So the stories are just too many. So I had the opportunity to stand out among my siblings because I was this girl that always wanted to help people. Even when I was young, I remember saving my pocket money so I can give to people who cannot feed. And a lot of things were happening. So I remember how my father could was giving me coins. At that time, we were young. There was 1 naira, there was 50 kobo. I had this box. I always saved money and I always helped people. Like just in the least ways that I could. So that was how it all started. So at the age of fast forward to when I was 17, it was the same story. Like it was for all of my sisters and relatives. Where my mother was from, there was nothing like going to the university. They don't believe in that. They just want you to get married. My mom got married at the age of 15 and she had me when she was 17, when she was 21. Yeah, so I grew up seeing my aunties and a lot of my relatives with so many potentials, but they could not reach their full potentials because they did not have formal education. And I wanted to change that. So fast forward to when I got to the university, when I was about to go to the university, the pressure started coming that I was supposed to get married and stuff and all of that. So I told my
Who
mom
was
that look,
who was the
you were
pressure coming from?
it was from it was from my uncles, everybody, because they feel like this is the norm. This is how it's always been. So why are you allowing her go to the university when she's supposed to be married? Because I grew up so fast. So it was more like they don't want me to go wayward or to go against the culture. So but I told my mom that look, you're the only one that can stand for me. And I know that my father is Fulani and that as much as he would want the best for me, there will come a time when he will break up and he will just allow them do whatever they want. So that was what happened. And I remember how my mom, we were living in Lagos then, and she had to move to Kaduna. She had to move to Kaduna simply because she wanted me to go to school. So I wrote my JAM, I passed my exams, and I got admission to study law in Bayero University. So it brought about a lot of conflict in the family. They were talking, they were saying that my mother was going against the norms and the she was trying to bring down the family name and stuff, all of that. So amidst all of that, I studied law, I graduated from the university, and it was time for me to go to law school. Again, when I was about to go to law school, I remember how they said I shouldn't go to law school because law school is not a necessity, it's more like a luxury to me, so that I should get married. And I graduated from the university at the age of 21 because I started uh, my degree at a very young age. I was this sharp student that was always I was double promoted twice. So I graduated from university at the age of 21 and they thought it would be nice if I get married. So it came back again. The pressure was there, on and off, on and off, on and off. My mother never relents. She was always there for me. She always supported me. She always stood by me, and she blocked her ears and damn everybody. So I finished university and I went for my LLM, which I did and came back to Nigeria. And then I joined the Ministry of Justice in Abuja, and I was working as a public defense lawyer because I did my master's in international human rights and humanitarian law. So and I picked interest in the issues of women and girls because as international lawyer, there's this gender course that you take. So I came to Abuja and I was attached to an office, the public defense lawyer's office. So I was attached there and I started going to court, and then I saw a lot of case files that were not even originally from Abuja. And then at some point we went to Kano. If you can remember, I think it was in 2016 or 2017, there was this case that happened in Kano of a girl, Khadija Bashir. She was 6 months old and she was violated by her father. And it even caught the attention of the Emir of Kano, the wife of the president, Aisha Buhari, and so many other people. Everybody was interested. And then I was part of the lawyers that took up the case. And that was what caught my attention. And then I'm going to court every day, seeing young girls, all these girl child hawkers, being exposed to so many dangers because they don't have money and they have to be the ones to fend for their families. And then when they are about to get married, the families, the parents do not have enough money to buy them the furniture and stuff that they need to go to the husband's house. So the moment they start growing at the age of 5, they send them on the street. So that was how it all started. And I started helping girls. I started with 28 girls. So I took up the case of Khadija Bashir and it was a success. And then after that, I started going from streets to villages to markets, sampling girls that are on the street selling food, and I ask if they were in school. If they're not in school, then it means there's very little that we can do. But if they're in school, then it means if they were in school and they dropped out, it means we can actually help them further their education. So I started in 2017 with 28 girls. So then someone advised that it would be nice if I have a platform that I can actually help these people so people will know what I'm doing. So I took 28 girls in Kano, and some finished primary school and then some were in secondary school, but they dropped out. So we took them back to school, and I did that alone with the help of my family. We took them back to school, and as I speak to you today, 2 of them have graduated from secondary school and they're in the higher institutions. And then even this year, 6 of them have written the JAM, have registered to write the JAM exams, and the WAEC and the NECO. So that was how Lift Africa started. I can't hear you.
I'm sorry, I had to mute for it. I was trying to get CSP Dolapo to join us, but she will join us in a minute. I've already sent, she's trying to hook on. She's trying to sign into the show right now. And as I listen to you, 2 things stand out. The courage of your mother, but the thing is, your mother already had an antecedent where, for example, she was educated. Are you telling me, so what worked for you that other people can learn from that made it possible for you to achieve the heights of what now you're fighting for young girls? What are you telling them?
Okay, the thing is, I always tell young girls that, I always tell young girls that their dreams are valid and there's nothing that is impossible, and they should not let their fears overpower their confidence, and their fears should not stop them from getting things done and trying to achieve whatever they want to achieve, because that was exactly what I did. If I had just sat down there and be a normal person, that obedient child that does not want to go against her parents or not my parents, my relatives, I would have been married. Maybe I would have had my 6th or 7th child by now, and I would just be in one village. Nobody will know about Aisha, and nobody will benefit from Lift Africa. Nobody will benefit from our scholarship and stuff. So that's what I always tell young girls. Never let anyone make you feel like you cannot achieve anything. Never let anyone make you feel like your dreams are not valid. Do not allow anyone to make you feel small. Your dreams are valid, and whatever you want to achieve is achievable.
So tell me, you say you are from what part of Nigeria are you from? You are from the northeast. What state?
Okay, so my father is from Adamawa State, and my mother is from Borno State.
So did
So, but
daddy refuse?
I grew up in different place.
Was your father a policeman or something? Was he a civil servant?
Yeah, he was a custom officer,
Okay, okay.
but
So
retired.
so what did he feel about, because maybe you are 8 girls, right? And all 8 girls are married now, correct? No, minus you.
Yeah, minus
Are
me.
you married today? Are you married today?
No, no,
Is it
I'm
that you
not
have any
married.
is it that you have anything against marriage, or you feel that you have a job and a task? How did you manage to convince your father to let you be?
Well, the only way I talk to them, parents, they always want the best for us. One, secondly, my parents are not like the other ones. They stand out even in the family. So I because of how much I have like I have convinced them over and over and over again. Some of my uh, relatives, some of my cousins are studying abroad today.
Wow. But when you talk about
That's how much.
how enlightened, so it's a case of enlightenment.
Yes. So I always
Okay, but
tell them, look, you have 11 of us. You have 11 of us, and you know that it's a blessing that you have 11 children, and just three of them are not married, and just one of the girls is not married. Don't you think that those ones that are married, that's their own blessing? And if you look at my life and everything that I achieved at a very young age, I have 2 masters. I'm a lawyer. I've done a lot of things, even though I'm nowhere where I want to be. Don't you think that I'm the other one that is actually meant to do different things, to do greater things, and marriage will come later in life? Because marriage is not the ultimate for a lady. Marriage is
okay,
not the
so
ultimate. So I mm,
go ahead. I mean, I'm listening. I'm sorry.
yeah. So I try to make them understand that it's not marriage is not the ultimate. And as much as marriage is a good thing, and I would want to get married someday and have my own children, but I think there's so much more that I can do, and there's so much more that I can achieve, and there are so many people that I am going to affect. So that I feel is my purpose, and nobody should stop me. Nothing should stop me. I should not sit down and wait for marriage and just give up all of my dreams.
Okay, so tell me, I want to draw a correlation between gender-based violence. The statistics are quite dire. Even on your site, you also quote the statistics of 1 in 3, but we have heard about 2 in 4, which is a little higher than 1 in 3 of girls, and you've painted a picture of what happens in the Northeast, for example, where you're from, that most girls go with a dowry, right? Because they go with a dowry, they need to buy furniture, plates, all of those things. So if the family doesn't have enough money, they put a girl out there early enough to get her to go and work and hawk to get money to prepare her dowry. And in the process, you're saying they're exposed. Tell me about that.
Okay, so it was a recent case of someone that I know, and as a mediator and as an arbitrator, sometimes you encourage settlements out of court. So there's this family that I met 3 years ago. There's this family that I met 3 years ago. The girl was 22 when I met them, but she got married at the age of 21. She graduated from university and she married a 39-year-old man. And ever since they got married, they always had issues. They always had problems. And how most people attribute it to spiritual attacks. when you're not able to stay in a marriage, they think maybe you're possessed and stuff. I don't know about you, but in the north, that's how it is. They attribute it to the fact that maybe you're possessed. So everybody was just concerned about, even the parents, they were more concerned about her being in the marriage and her not be getting divorced. But then somehow I got to know about the case, and I sat down with the girl and I asked her, why do you want to leave your marriage? Why do you want to leave your husband? At first she didn't want to open up to me. And in a span of 3 years, this year, around April, I got a call that she tried to stab her husband. She tried to stab her husband with a knife, that she was tired of staying in the marriage. And then I had to call her. I had to send people to take her out of the house because she told me that her parents always tell her to go back and stay in the marriage. Now, this is because she has potential. She studied and she graduated and she could work and make her own money. But because they always see women as dependent, powerless, weak, and women should be unambitious and should be totally dependent on men when they are married and on their children when the husbands die. So they think her ultimate purpose is just to be a wife. Now, the reason why all of that has been happening is because she was raped. She was
Wow.
raped. Yes,
By her
she
husband
was
or?
raped at a very young age.
Mhm.
No, not by her husband. So it was in the house. It was in the house. It wasn't her uncle. It was one of the people that were working in their house that raped her because she was young and all of her siblings were in secondary school. And you know how when you're in primary school or you're in nursery school, you close before those in secondary school. So she's always at home with that person, and he's old, and he raped her repeatedly, and she was very young. She did not know what it was. He abused her uh, continuously, and she could not tell anyone because whoever she tries to tell shuts her up.
Hmm.
So she grew up with
Well,
that trauma.
wow. I'll
She,
just take a break.
yes,
I'll
she.
just pause. I shall pause a little bit because we have our guests in the house already. CSP Dolapo is here
Oh,
with us. I'm so pleased that you join us. Hi, CSP. How you doing?
Yeah,
If you just that,
hi, Miss Adekowa.
it's
Good
good to see
evening.
you. Well, good evening. I'm so glad to see you. Aisha is already here, so Aisha will just say hello to you. You know, and it's very interesting when they see CSP Dolapo. She's joined the police force, but and she is the Lagos Police Public Relations Officer (PPRO). She served there for a few months before she became the Zone 2 Command, covering both Lagos and Ogun State as the PPRO in June last year. However, she's here in her personal capacity as a sexual and domestic violence responder in the fight against sexual violence. I'm trying to read and still look at you at the same time. Welcome, CSP Dolapo. It's great to see you here.
Thank you. Good evening. I'm
Good
sorry
evening.
for coming a bit behind schedule. I have a lot of things to do. I have to rush in, and
I hope
hopefully,
there was no emergency.
um, purposely to serve humanity. That's why I'm here. If not, I wouldn't be able. But we're fine. We can kickstart. Aisha, how are you? Good to see you.
Hello, CSP. I've been hearing about you for a long time, and it's a pleasure finally being on the same
Amen.
platform with you today. Thank you very much for all that you do for humanity, and thank you very much for having us today.
Thank you.
Yes, I have invited CSP Dolapo not only because she has the inner caucus, she has the inner knowledge of how the police works. She'll be able to give us information of how we should do when we find ourselves in those situations. What do we do right? But more importantly, because she's a DFID UK certified sexual and domestic violence responder. Now, CSP Dolapo, let's just dive in straight to what Aisha was describing. Aisha was describing earlier on a case of a young woman who had been raped. Family didn't know. She's married today and it's affecting her marriage. But she was raped by somebody closest to her. And that often creates a problem when there's case to be pursued legally. True or false, CSP Dolapo? What should we be knowing about reporting such cases?
Okay, let me start by saying you've been able to identify the fact that I'm sorry, my voice is a bit cracky. We've not been sleeping for the past 3 or 4 days. You know what I mean? So please, you have to bear with me. Um, what I want to talk about when it comes to sexual violence, most people, the perpetrators, are most times family members. They are most times co-worshippers or in
Hmm.
places of worship. Most times, the uncles that's supposed to be, guardians, and also at times you even have from school, school teachers, school guardians, school tutors, and everything like that. And most time, when this happen, when the we call them, we don't want to call them victims anymore, and so we call them survivors, because victims looks like it's derogatory, like it's giving you a feeling that you're the one that is wrong. So in order to change that erroneous belief, we had to change it to survival. And then when survivors, they don't have the courage to talk about it, because how do you wake up and tell your father that his younger brother raped you? How do you want to wake up and tell your parents that maybe the imam or the pastor raped you, or even the traditionalist? Maybe perhaps your parents are, the traditional worshippers. So because of how much importance they place on the perpetrators, then they find it difficult most time to talk about it. And because they are not able to talk about it, they live with guilt. They're like, oh, I shouldn't have gone to my uncle's house. Why am I alone with my uncle? Why did I go to the pastor? I think I'm the guilty one. So because they live with guilt, it doesn't come out of their system in a long while. So most times you see them not coming out of it is because they live, in regret. And then when all of this happen, the ones that even have confidence to talk, perhaps maybe to the mother, you will hear the mother saying, "Oh, I rebuke you. You are evil child. I've had visions. I've had, people have told me that you're going to destroy this family. So keep quiet. Shut up." And then the child will lose her self-esteem, you know, and then she lives with it for the rest of her life. So when this happens, even when the child is interested in getting the perpetrator punished, the people that can offer help and succor are not ready. They are not willing. So this particular child, for the rest of her life, she felt like she's been cheated. She felt like she's guilty. She felt like most times a lot of people commit suicide. Do you understand? So you are now coming to the question like, how is the prosecution?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Do you understand? When
Yes.
a child is being molested and she tell the mother, or she tells the mother that I've just been molested, I've just been sexually harassed, I've just been raped. And the mom says, shut up. How do you want the child to start, getting legal means of getting justice? These are the helpers. But what has happened of late has changed the narrative, because I think schools, perhaps places of worship, they've been sensitized. If you see any child in line of duty, I've seen where co-neighbors have brought a child to complain to the police. I've seen where NGOs have helped the child, you understand, to communicate their issue to the police. I've
Is
seen
that
where,
is is that positive? Does it yield positive results? We want to hear
Of course,
positive stories.
yes. Okay, let me give you an example. While I was then the police PRO for Lagos, there was a case of a child that was actually molested by our own father. And then when the child made an attempt to tell the mother what is happening, the mother shut her down and said she's an evil child. And this is a woman that works at the airport. And most times she's on night duty. And then the father will take advantage of that 12-year-old girl. And at the end of the day, he will give her some medication to take to prevent her, from getting married. And she was worried she
Getting
couldn't bear it
pregnant, you
anymore.
mean? To prevent her from getting pregnant.
That was, yeah.
Mhm.
So she had to confine in the uncle, who is the younger brother, to the mother. So the uncle, communicated this to some NGOs. And then the NGO actually took it up with the police. So when the father was arrested, the mother kept telling the brother that you want to send my husband to jail, I'll make sure you are dead. So the man ran to the station and we just have to let this child go and let the father go because the sister is disturbing him. So what the police had to do was to grab the auntie, the mother too, because of course you are an ancestry before and after the fact. If you've taken right, custody as a mother of your child, and this child has been complaining, and you didn't do anything about it, you've allowed the perpetrator to continue. Do you
How did
understand?
that case,
And
how did it end? Did the child get justice?
yes, the father was jailed. But because, yeah, and I could remember the government took over the girl, you know, like Lagos have shelters. So while I was there, I knew the father, got jailed because that was the time they were creating all these family courts. I know there are
Mhm,
family courts in Lagos,
mhm,
special offenses, court. So part of
mhm,
them is that family court that attends to the issue of sexual molestation, harassment, and violence. So,
mhm.
but with that, we can say the girl had justice, but you know, the mom still have to do some things to take care of the younger one. So I think they let the mother go after some time. So you have issues of that. But I can say categorically, a lot of family members, a lot of community people don't want.
Okay, I think CSP Dolapo is frozen. I think she's frozen, and I should have told her, don't worry, we'll come back to you. It probably will be a
you
good
know,
time. Okay,
people to.
now we missed you for a little bit. So if you just say, I think what I'm going to do now is we've spoken for about half an hour. We can take a break, and I want to play back the pledges because I find those pledges really communicate a lot. Because the pledges, both pledges
Okay,
from parents.
Mr.
Yes, Aisha, I want to take a short break. Play the pledges
Yes,
because it speaks. Okay, we're going to say something. Go ahead.
yes, I have a very important question for CSP Dolapo because in the course of
Okay,
my work as
do you want
a
to, Aisha,
tender,
do you want to hold on to that? Let's hold on to the question. Let's take a short break so that we can get CSP back and we take the pledges. Please write your questions and don't forget, we'll take it back. But if technical can take those pledges while we sort out the
all right,
technical issue with CSP Dolapo, we will take a short break. Yes. The children's pledge to end violence against children, and then the parents pledge to end violence against children, especially girls. So if we can pull
I
up those
pledge
tapes.
to always talk to my parents and other trusted adults about anything that makes me feel sad, angry, afraid, or worried. I pledge to say no if someone asks to see or touch my private parts. I pledge to respect and care for other children as I like to be respected and cared for. I pledge to report, speak out, and get help from my parents or a trusted adult when anyone hurts me. So help me God.
I pledge to learn about types, signs, and prevention of violence against children. I pledge to speak out and report all cases of violence against children to the appropriate authorities. I pledge to step in and help any child experiencing violence. I pledge to consciously create an environment free from violence for my child. I pledge to communicate effectively and spend quality time with my children and build a trustworthy relationship with them. So, help me God.
Yes, I'm back. Aysha is back, but CSP seems to be frozen. Aysha, okay. Oh, fantastic. Aysha, can you hear me? Just say yes.
Yeah.
Can CSP, can you both hear me? Just wave if you can hear me. Excellent, beautiful. So what pleased me with what CSP just spoke is that if people are determined enough to pursue the case, they can get the law enforcement on their side. But most times, families are the ones that try to stop it from going forward. What two of you have said today is that regardless of how it goes, the scars from rape stay till the end. So the more we get people to speak up and seek justice, the better for everyone. As we're leaving, Aysha says she has a question for you, CSP. Can you go ahead now, Aysha?
Okay, so my question is, first of all, I know the Nigerian police are doing a lot, and we have a sexual violence response
Yes.
unit in each of the police. Yes, we have that. So, but I have seen in the maybe 3 years ago, I have seen a case where someone reported, it was in a very remote area. A girl reported the case of sexual harassment. It was a sexual assault. So when she got to the police station, there was no woman at the desk. So the policeman asked her what she was wearing. He asked her, "What were you wearing?" Because you know it's different. Nigeria is a very diverse, and we have different cultures. We have different people from different ethnic groups. So what works for Lagos might not work for Kano. What works for Maiduguri might not work for Cross River. You understand? We have people from, and we all have different cultures. So now, in the north, you're expected to dress a certain way, and they most likely, most of the time, they attribute rape to what you're wearing. If you were wearing the right dress, he wouldn't have been attracted to you, and he wouldn't have raped you. Now, the policeman said that to the girl, that what was she wearing? And then he asked again, "Didn't you enjoy it?" I am a
So
witness. I've seen that happen.
So your question, because we've lost CSP, but your question, I'm sure we'll get her back on. Your question really is, beyond the fact of what they were wearing, why is it that in police stations, we do not have female police officers on the front desk? That you think if we had females, they'll be more understanding. So, and again, being a police woman and also, I mean, being in the force and also being a responder, she'd probably be in the better position to answer this. So, CSP, I don't know if you heard what she said, talking about the fact that there was a case that they had, there was no female at the desk, and when they got to the station, it was only a male, and being in the north, they're expected to dress a particular way. All the man said was, how were you dressed, and didn't you enjoy it? So there are two things here. How do we respond to the fact that a force should have many more women at the desk? Or how do we train the police force to help them to understand that it's beyond what they wear? You are in Lagos, it's developed, there's progress. She's talking about, what about the rest of Nigeria? What advice would you give? What should it be?
Okay, I was in Lagos. If I may ask Aisha, this must have been a long time ago.
3 years ago.
3 years ago. I think the gender issue was evolving then. But while I was PRO, because like I said, I was trained by DFID of UK government to respond to all of these. And then became when I became the PRO for Lagos Command, what I did with the then Commissioner of Police was that, because we hear a lot of all these complaints, like she just said, people will ask you, the police will ask you, um, I mean, why did you dress that way? Why did you pass that place? Why were you there at that ungodly hour? And we had a lot of that. So what we did in conjunction with the Lagos State government through their domestic and sexual violence response team was we were able to train some female police officers in responding, to sexual and domestic violence. And then we were able to create 11 divisions that have family support units. You know what family support unit means? Is that they entertain issues of domestic and sexual violence. And then we were able to sensitize people that if you have any of these cases, locate anyone that is very close to you, any of the divisions that are of family support unit. So people don't just go into any station. So that's why they were able to sectionalize all those, divisions across Lagos. They have in Badagry, Festac, Ikorodu, Ikeja, Ilupeju, Adeniji Adele, Aja. I've mentioned Ikeja and
Mm-hmm.
Agege, which was why I was DPO.
Mm-hmm.
That's Isokoko.
So
So what they did,
what you're saying, CSP Dolapo, I'm sorry to cut you short, is that in Lagos State, the police responded by training female officials, right? Someone is
yeah.
sending a question from the public saying, how about the police training? I wonder what you both think, and I want both of you to respond to it. The police training the police force itself to understand that to respond to this, there are special things and special ways you must respond. What do you think about that?
So I'll start by saying the issue of sexual violence. You agree with me? Just the way that we have upped the game of sensitization in those years, in the early, maybe let me say early 80s, or even early 90s, or even to close to the early 2000s. You understand? You People will joke with issue of rape when when people are even being raped, they don't come out to talk about it because they feel the shame, they feel the guilt, and everything. But the narrative, you will agree with me, has actually changed. People are bold now to come out and say, I am reporting you that you have done this against me. So, if that is what we are all evolving, and so I want to believe that the police is evolving also. So, if the good thing is that we've started all over the federation, police have gender desk. So, what that means is that something has started. So, step by step, you understand? I
So
believe we
that's
will get there.
interesting to know. Aisha, on the field, what have you experienced with the police and with the law enforcement agents besides the police?
Well, that I told you about,
Mm-hmm.
very responsive. We have acts in northern Nigeria where one of the projects that we are in with Lift Africa, and then we have a sexual line. So what we do, we don't have an office, but we have recruits. Communities. We intend to work with the NYSC to recruit lawyers and doctors, medical doctors, so they can be sent to these villages. So they can be sent to these villages, and in a case where there's an issue of rape or a case of rape, they can quickly intervene with the policemen, with the lawyers on ground, so they can take it up, and then the DNA thing, you understand, the DNA thing, so it doesn't elapse. So we have a very good relationship with the Nigerian police, and we intend to extend beyond just the 8 states because we just started it last year. So but I think we need to do more because not everyone, the culture is different, like I said earlier. So because of the fear of stigmatization, victims or survivors of rape and sexual violence may not be able to speak up. So we have to also encourage the culture of always speaking up, always reporting, and then on the part of the police, like she said, they're training people. Let them also be able to accommodate
Okay,
those
I think I
survivors.
just sound your sound is a little choppy. So maybe you should check your microphone. But while you're doing that, I would like CSP Dolapo to please tell me the three things that she thinks the public must know if they have to deal with law enforcement with cases like this. What should we do? What do we do right? And what do we do wrong? To make, because people have said if there's better prosecution, and when you find somebody and find him guilty and punish him, then that will encourage more reporting, because clearly last year the highest amount of reporting came from Lagos. So obviously maybe something is being done right here, that many more people are coming to speak. So I want you to please tell people what they need to know if they have to deal with law enforcement agents.
Well, let me start by saying that sexual violence occurrences like rape, defilement is a very serious issue. And then it should not be treated with kid gloves. Um, a lot of people, to start with, don't view it as a serious issue. Most times, the landlord take advantage of, the tenant's child or daughter, and then they come out and tell them, if you make noise about it, we're going to throw you out. And then they get scared. They don't want to talk about it. Most times, they report it at the station. They come back to say, we want to withdraw. And that's why we need to let people know that it's not an offense against you as a mother. It's not an offense against you as a father. It's not even an offense against the child. It's an offense against the state.
Hmm.
The government rejects it. So immediately that offense is being perpetrated, it goes beyond, it's my daughter, it's my word. No, it's an offense against the state. And I believe that the state had all the apparatus to deal with such issue. And I'm aware, because when that issue happened last year, when a lady was raped and killed, I, for one, personally reached out to the mothers of the states. I was able to reach out to the chairperson of First Ladies Against Domestic Violence and Sexual Violence, Gender-Based Violence, and that's Mrs. Her Excellency Mrs. Fayemi Ekiti State. Because I believe we can also enter the government through them. They are mothers, they feel it. So when such issues are being, reported, they can take it over to ensure that that issue sees the light of the day. So I was able to reach out to her. The secretary also, who happens to be the wife of the governor of Kwara State, you understand? Excellency Miss Abdurasa, I also got in touch with her.
So what you're
And
saying is that we should reach out to the first ladies in state.
no, I'm not saying that. What I'm saying in essence is that from my own angle, I've been able to kick start. And I can tell you categorically that all of them in the state are now interested. So if a case is reported in any state, the first ladies now have a way of getting to know. And then they also follow up to ensure that proper things are being done. And part of it is also to warn parents that when cases are on, they come to say, I'm no longer interested. No, ma'am, it's not your case. It's a case against the state, offense against the state. And another thing, because those are the things that frustrates prosecution. When witnesses don't come out, when witnesses say, I want to go, you understand, who will be used to get to the root of the matter? So everyone thinks it's just about police frustrating it. No, there are so many things that come together. Police is about investigation. And then when you take investigation, you compile your case file, and then you send to court, and then the child is not there to witness. The parents perhaps are not there. What will they prosecute? So most times, all these things get frustrated. So I think all hands should be on deck to ensure that immediately a case is being reported, proper things are being done. And then another issue is time factor.
Yeah, it takes time.
Time factor. Do you understand? A child has just been raped. Most times, take the child to the police. The police will call for the doctor that will take samples. You know what I mean? When the case is opened, even the clothing. Do you understand? So all of these are the things that come together that a lot of people don't know, that come together to establish whether a crime has been perpetrated. Yes, they will tell you that the one that perpetrated the offense have his or her own human right. So you see lawyers that will still come up and say you cannot crucify him without listening to him, perhaps in law court. But there are some ingredients that must not be missing to ensure proper prosecution.
So what we're saying is parents should realize it's beyond them. It's a crime against the state. Also, all the evidence must be in place. And I think as a lawyer, though, Aisha, especially from the North, what would you say are the three important things that we must realize to ensure that justice is met for those who also manage to speak up? We have just 5 minutes to round up.
Okay, so I wanted to talk about something that's very important. As much as we're talking about women here, gender-based violence, we should also not forget about the men and the boys. Because I am very sure you're aware of a case of a young boy that was raped in his school, or he was sexually harassed. He was in Lagos or Port Harcourt. He was all over the internet, and he was abused several times, and his mother was all over the internet, and there were threats because it's a Catholic school. So we should also not forget that boys are also victims. And then
we do know that, Aisha. It's just that
considering
for us,
what you asked,
we are concerned about the girls here. We do know that, no problem. But we're concerned about the girls because we believe the girl child is absolutely important and doesn't have a voice. So we do know, more vulnerable.
So regarding your question, the first thing is we should always speak up. Speaking up is the first most important thing to do. The victims' ability to seek help saves them from further harm. It saves them from further harm, and as well prevents them from suffering and prevents other people from suffering, because sexual violence offenders tend to pass on the mayhem to other vulnerable victims. So if
Mhm.
you speak up, it stops a lot of things. That's one thing. Then the second thing is to report to the relevant authorities and law enforcement agents, which I believe CSP Dolapo has pointed that out. If you see any signs, you should report to the relevant authorities. And then if
Mhm.
you're a community member or someone that can help, offer help by listening and showing concern and spread the genuine heart of love and care. And then you can
Mhm.
also join the movement of advocating by volunteering, speaking up about it, and joining the conversation about gender equality, sexual and gender-based
Mhm.
violence, and avoid being a tool or perpetrator of stigmatization, because that is also very important. You
Mhm.
should avoid being
And
a perpetrator or a tool of stigmatization.
so even I would just have both of you give me one final word. If we are going to end stigmatization, what's the best way? Talk with the mothers, talk with government, talk with the children, or talk with the fathers? What's the best way to end it? CSP Dolapo, final words from you as we go. You have to unmute yourself because you're still muted.
Sorry. Am I clear now?
Yes.
Based on what Aisha said about a boy child, most times we all believe that it doesn't happen. We all believe that it doesn't occur. Well, it actually to rate them might look, you understand, not
Mhm.
achievable, but harassment, we should also pinpoint it. But I know most times it happens to girls, and it's of concern, high concern. But what I want to say today is that I don't understand what stigmatization is. I think we should start by also talking to the boy child. He's only a coward that rapes. He's only a coward that defiles. He's only a coward that, harass a girl child. A girl is not a toy and they should not be treated as such. They are also as human being as you, a boy, and they are also as very important as you, a boy. And then to top it all, we should teach our children to speak out. As a mother, talk to your girl, name the private parts the way it should be named to them, and you let them know that that belongs to them alone, and any other person coming to touch that is an intruder and they should be exposed. Nobody will die when they tell anything that has been done against them. And above it all our men should be made to understand that anybody that rapes should see life imprisonment. I understand that Lagos don't joke with that. They give imprisonment as long as 60 years, 70 years, 90 years. So we should all be careful. So the young girls out there, let's keep ourselves, safe all the time. Thank you.
Thank you. Aisha, your final word?
Okay, so the thing is, there are three things that we can do to end violence or to drastically reduce it, because everything is a process. Now, the first most important thing is to create awareness on the part of the parents to raise their boys to be responsible and to understand that women are not objects of sex. They are not sexual objects. That is the most important thing, because as much as you're trying to fight it, you also have to address the root cause of it. If we train our boys to be responsible, if we train our boys to know that women are not objects of sex, then I think we will raise a better society, and then people will begin to appreciate women as human beings, not as objects. Then secondly, on the part of stigmatization, the northern part of Nigeria, rape, people have been neglected. Women that have been survivors of rape, they tend to find it difficult to find a husband. So we need to create awareness on the part of the people by going to the grassroots communities, because this is where these things happen. They feel like it's better they just keep quiet, and that's why most of the time you see cases in court, you're trying to help them, and then all of a sudden they come and tell you that no, they backed out, either because someone threatened them or because they feel that their child is exposed too much to the public, so they would rather just keep quiet. And that is because they are being stigmatized. They are afraid that the child will not be married because of what happened to her, forgetting that she did not put it upon herself. she's also a victim. So that is the second thing. And then the third thing is just to talk about it, amplify what we have to do, put our on deck. All hands must be on deck to end violation of human
Thank
rights. It's
Thank you,
just
Aisha. Thank you, Aisha. I just want to round up what you all are saying, which is practically the same thing. We need to stop stigmatization. CSP says we need to have all the facts and report and know that you can get as long as 90 years in Lagos, for example. Other states need to copy it. We need to also raise awareness about the need to speak out, teach our children to understand what it is, and they should seek justice. Thank you very much to my guests for being here. I want to sign out by allowing you to please sit back and listen to what people on the street had to say about this topic. I'll see you all. For the audience, I'll see you next week. So let's have that video of what people are saying on the street. Just sit back, my guests, and let's watch it as we sign off.
Guys are told that they just take out. Not many people have been raped that they cannot tell people. They cannot voice out. Number one, they should take hands. Number two,
what's happening
if
to our
someone rapes you and you
video?
can recognize the person, just voice out immediately.
No.
Tell people
We
around
signed
you
up on
that
our
they
video.
raped you.
We
Don't
just said
hide your
bye-bye.
feelings. Don't, because of you don't want people to be laughing at you and you're hiding your feelings and you are dying inside you. Tell people that this is what I'm going through. This is what I'm passing through. Let people know your mind. Let people understand your feelings.
Their criminal justice system is compromised, and criminal justice consists of the court, police, and the prisons. So I think the police has to take a lot of measures to curb this, have to take criminal actions to curb this. And the court must see that they prosecute anyone that have violated someone sexually. The court must prosecute the person and make this thing known to the public that this is actually what we have done to such people, so that it will deter or to prevent further occurrence.
I came back on just to say this was a spotlight initiative, and we have managed to see everybody on the street is agreeing with what both of you have said. So once again, I'd just like to say thank you, CSP Dolapo. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Especially with your cracked voice and all the work you have been doing the past 3 days, with all the security threats, but we thank God everything went okay and Nigeria is still together. Thank you very much. Aisha, thank you for being with us. And please, we wish you all the best in your work. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
Have a great one. And let everyone know that rape is a criminal offense. It's a serious one.